Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening, or somewhere deep in the quiet hours of night, I am grateful you are here. In the comments, tell us where you are listening from tonight. City, state, or country. I would love to know where this story is finding you. Now take a breath, relax, and let the story begin. Welcome to Cora Stories Live. Tonight, settle in, get comfortable, and make yourself at home. Whether you are listening from morning light, late evening...
34 years ago, Victor Bennett walked away from his wife and 4 daughters because he believed the legacy he wanted could only come through sons. For years, he built another life around that belief. Then the truth about Adrian and Andrew changed everything. But Victor was not the only person forced to confront the past, because just when my daughters thought they had finally stopped waiting for answers from their father, a message arrived from one of the young men he had raised as his sons. And that message would bring two families face to face with 34 years of secrets, resentment, unanswered questions, and a version of the past Victor had carefully rewritten. Welcome back to Cora Stories. If you have been following Amara and her four daughters from the beginning, thank you for coming back for the final part of their story. And if this is your first time here, you are joining us at a moment when the choices one man made decades ago are finally coming back to the people who had to live with them. Before we continue, I want to ask you something. If a parent abandons his children, misses their childhoods, their milestones, and the lives they build without him, do you believe a sincere apology 34 years later can ever earn him a place in their lives again? Or are there some relationships where forgiveness may be possible, but restoration is not? Tell me what you think in the comments. I would really like to hear your answer before you see what Amara and her daughters eventually decide. And if you enjoy emotional family stories about love, consequences, resilience, forgiveness, and the complicated choices that shape our lives, please subscribe to Cora Stories and become part of our growing family. Now, let us return to Amara. The following evening, Mara called me. "Mom, I need you to come over." "What happened?" I received a message. "From whom?" She was quiet. "Mara?" "Adrian." I sat up. "Adrian Bennett?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "I would rather show you." Within an hour, all four daughters were at Mara's house. Naomi arrived, still wearing her medical coat. Lydia came directly from a client meeting. Maya entered last, placed her bag on the floor and asked, "Why are we here?" Mara turned her laptop toward us. The message was open. "My name is Adrian Cole Bennett. I believe Victor Bennett is your father. Until 2 weeks ago, I believed he was mine too. I do not know whether you have heard what happened. I'm not contacting you for money or to ask you to take sides. I need to know what Victor told you about us, and I need to know what he told you about why he left." Nobody spoke. Maya read the message twice. Then she looked at Mara. "When did he send this?" "Last night. Did you answer?" I said I needed time. Maya gave a humorless laugh. "You sound like Victor." Mara closed the laptop halfway. "That is not fair." "No, it is not." Naomi removed her coat. "Open it again." Mara did. Lydia pulled a chair closer. "Why did he include Cole? It may be Vanessa's surname," I said. "It is," Mara answered. "He uses both names online." Maya paced toward the window. "What does he want from us?" "He said he wants the truth," Mara replied. "Whose truth?" "Ours. We do not owe him that." Naomi looked at her. "He did not say we did." "He contacted Mara, because Mara is the easiest one to find." Mara glanced at Maya. "Thank you. You know what I mean?" "I do." Lydia continued reading. "He says he is not asking for money. That means Victor told him we are successful," Maya said. "Or he knows how messages from strangers sound," Naomi answered. "He is not a stranger." All three sisters looked at Mara. She kept her eyes on the screen. "He grew up calling our father Dad." Maya folded her arms. "That does not make him our brother." "No," Mara said. "But it does mean he was inside the life Victor chose instead of us." The room went quiet. Naomi sat beside her. "What do you want to do?" "I want to answer." "Why?" "Because I asked whether he knew about us." Mara looked toward me. "I asked that the day they were born." I remembered. Will he tell them they have 4 sisters? Nobody had been able to answer. Mara turned back to her sisters. "Now one of them is asking." Maya looked away. Lydia asked, "What would you tell him?" "The truth. All of it. As much as he wants to know." Naomi considered the message. "He may be trying to understand why Victor responded this way." "He should ask Victor," Maya said. "Victor may not answer. That is not our problem." "No," Naomi said, "but it is familiar." Maya looked at her eldest sister. Naomi continued, "We know what it is like to have a question about Victor and hear silence. That does not make us responsible for fixing it. It does not." "Then what are you saying?" "I am saying answering him is not the same as taking responsibility for him." Lydia looked at Mara. "Would you be comfortable speaking by video?" "Yes, not alone." I was not planning to. They looked at Maya. She sat down. "I will listen." "That is not the same as agreeing," Mara said. It is all I have right now. 2 days later, Adrian and Andrew appeared on Mara's computer screen. They looked like the young men from the newspaper photograph. But the confidence in that picture was gone. Adrian sat closest to the camera. Andrew remained slightly behind him with both arms folded. For several seconds, nobody knew how to begin. Then Adrian said, "Thank you for answering." Mara nodded. Mara gestured toward her sisters. "This is Naomi, Lydia, and Maya." Adrian nodded. "We know." Maya's eyebrows lifted. Andrew spoke for the first time. "We searched after the results." Naomi asked, "What did Victor tell you about us?" Adrian looked at Andrew, then back at us. "He said your mother left him." Maya laughed sharply. "Of course he did. He said the divorce became hostile," Adrian continued. "He said Amara turned you against him." I kept my face still. "What else?" Lydia asked. "He said he tried to stay involved, but every visit became an argument." "How many visits did he describe?" Lydia asked. Adrian hesitated. "I do not know," Lydia continued. "Did he tell you he left on the day Maya and Mara came home from the hospital?" Both young men became still. Andrew leaned toward the screen. "What?" Maya spoke before I could. "We were 4 days old." "He never said that," Adrian replied. Naomi's voice remained calm. "He packed his suitcase while our mother was recovering from delivering twins." Andrew looked away from the camera. Mara asked, "Did he tell you why he left?" Adrian answered, "He said the marriage was already over. He left for Celeste," Maya said. Adrian looked confused. "Ariel's mother?" Maya nodded. "Yes, he told us Celeste came later. She was pregnant while our mother was pregnant with us," Mara said. Neither young man spoke. I watched the truth move across their faces, not because the facts made them responsible, because they had discovered the father they knew had built their childhood on a rewritten version of ours. Andrew looked at me. "Did he support you?" "Sometimes." "That means no," Lydia said. I glanced at her. She did not apologize. Adrian rubbed one hand across his forehead. "He told us he paid every month." "He did not," I said. Andrew looked at Naomi. "What about school?" Naomi answered, "I was removed from class because my fees were overdue." Andrew lowered his eyes. "How old were you?" 7. He sat back. "I'm sorry." Naomi looked at him. "You did not do it." "I know. Then do not apologize for him." Adrian drew in a breath. "We thought you hated us." Maya responded first. "We did not know you." Adrian continued. "He said you resented us because we were boys. That part was not entirely wrong," Maya said. "Maya," Naomi warned. I said it was not entirely wrong. She leaned toward the screen. "We did not hate two babies. We hated what your birth meant to him." Adrian nodded slowly. "The photograph." All 4 sisters looked at him. "You know about it?" Mara asked. "He kept a copy in his office." Andrew laughed without humor. "My sons. My legacy." Maya's face hardened. "He displayed it?" Andrew nodded, beside the company sign. For a moment, Maya said nothing. Then she asked, "What happened after the test?" Adrian's expression changed. "He said nothing would change." At first, Andrew added, "What changed?" Lydia asked. Andrew lifted one wrist toward the camera. There was a pale line where a watch had been. "He removed us from the company." Lydia leaned closer. "From your positions, from the ownership plan." Adrian spoke quietly. "We were supposed to take over." "Did you invest money in the business?" Lydia asked. Adrian nodded. "Some. How much?" "Lydia," I said. "What? It matters." Adrian gave a tired smile. "You really do work in finance." "Yes, we invested savings, not enough to destroy us. Do you have documents?" "Some," Adrian answered. "Get copies of everything." Maya looked at her. "We are not representing them. I am giving basic advice. That is how it starts." Lydia ignored her. "Do not sign revised agreements until someone independent reviews them." Adrian nodded. "Thank you." Andrew looked toward the screen. "Why are you helping us?" Lydia paused. "Because Victor's irresponsibility does not become acceptable when it happens to someone else." Andrew looked down. Naomi asked, "Do you still consider him your father?" The brothers exchanged another glance. Adrian answered first. "I do." Andrew remained silent. Naomi waited. Finally, he said, "I do not know." His voice changed. "He keeps saying the tests took his sons." I watched Maya's jaw set. Andrew continued, "But we are standing in front of him." Nobody interrupted. He looks at us like somebody died." Adrian placed one hand on his brother's shoulder. Andrew shook it off, not angrily, as though he needed room to finish. "I know Vanessa lied. He did not call her mom. She should have told him. She should have told us." His fingers closed around the edge of the table. "But I did not know." His voice broke. "I did not wake up one morning and decide not to be his son." Naomi moved closer to the screen. "You did not stop being the person you were the day before." Andrew wiped his face quickly. "That is what Ariel said. The name silenced us." Mara asked, "You speak to her?" "She called when she heard." "What did she say?" Adrian answered, "She told us not to chase him." Andrew looked toward his brother. "She said he would make us feel as though the test changed us." Mara's hands became still. "Did she tell you what happened to her?" Andrew nodded. "Yes." "Everything?" "Enough." Naomi closed her eyes briefly. Adrian continued. "She said Victor eventually called her again. I looked at him. When? Years later." "What did he want?" I asked. "To apologize." Hope rose before I could prevent it. Then Adrian said she asked whether he wanted to be her father again. "What did he say?" "He said he wanted them to have peace." Maya laughed. "That means he did not want the work." Adrian nodded. Ariel said the same thing. "What did she decide?" Mara asked. "She told him she forgave him." Nobody spoke. Andrew added, "But she did not call him dad again." The distinction settled over the room. Forgiveness without restoration. Ariel had reached it before any of us knew she had been asked. The conversation lasted almost 2 hours. We told Adrian and Andrew what Victor missed: school fees, birthdays, graduations, weddings. They told us what he had been like in their house. Victor attended every school event when they were young. He coached their teams, he taught them to drive. He arrived late sometimes, but he arrived. He was strict, proud, demanding. He expected high grades. He spoke constantly about the company. Andrew gave a faint smile. Adrian counts from before we were born. Victor always told us we were his sons long before he ever held us. To Adrian, the waiting had always been part of the family story. Victor taught them to count. "He was a good father," Adrian said at one point. Maya looked away. Andrew corrected him. "He was good to us." Adrian stared at his brother. The difference mattered. At the end of the call, Mara asked the question she had carried since the day the boys were born. "Did you know you had 4 sisters?" Adrian nodded. "We knew there were 4 daughters." "Did you know our names?" "Naomi and Lydia." Maya laughed once. The same omission. The same 2 oldest daughters. Adrian's face changed. He did not talk about the twins much. "We are the twins," Maya said. "I know that now." Mara kept her voice steady. "Did he ever show you photographs of us?" Adrian shook his head. "He never did." "Did you ever ask? When we were younger?" "What did he say? That it was complicated?" Mara nodded slowly. For a few seconds, nobody seemed to know what should come next. Nearly 2 hours earlier, Adrian and Andrew had been strangers on a screen. Now they knew things about our childhood Victor had never told them. And we knew things about theirs that none of us had been prepared to hear. Adrian finally spoke. "Thank you for answering." Mara looked at him. "I almost did not." "I know." Andrew leaned closer to the screen. "I do not know what happens after this." Naomi answered quietly. "Neither do we." He nodded. "That is fair." Adrian glanced toward his brother before looking back at us. "Can we talk again sometime?" The sisters exchanged looks. Nobody answered immediately. Then Mara said, "Maybe. Just give us a little time." "Of course." Andrew looked toward Naomi. "Thank you for what you said earlier." Naomi knew what he meant. "You did not become somebody different because of a test." He nodded once. "I'm trying to remember that." "Keep remembering it." Adrian lifted one hand in a small wave. "Good night." Mara returned it. "Good night." For another moment, Adrian and Andrew remained on the screen, neither of them seeming quite ready to be the first to leave. Then Adrian gave a small nod. "Take care of yourselves." Naomi answered for all of us. "You too." The call ended. Mara lowered the laptop screen. Afterward, none of us moved. The room felt smaller than it had before the call. Naomi spoke first. "They love him." Maya stood. "That is their problem." Naomi's voice sharpened. "Maya, what do you want me to say?" "The truth." Naomi answered. "That is the truth." Maya walked toward the window. "They had him." "Until they did not," Mara said. Maya turned. They had nearly 2 decades. Mara held her gaze. And now those nearly 2 decades are being used against them. That does not erase what we lost. Nobody said it did, Mara replied. Maya folded both arms. I do not feel sorry for them. Naomi watched her. Yes, you do. Maya's face changed. I said I do not. You are angry that you do. Maya looked away for years. She had imagined Adrian and Andrew as symbols, the sons, the legacy. Everything Victor had chosen instead of us. The computer screen had turned them back into people. That was harder. Symbols can be hated without consequence. People look back at you. A month later, Adrian and Andrew left Victor's company. They did not wait for him to dismiss them. Adrian accepted a position with another firm. Andrew returned to school to complete the work he had once wanted to study before Victor directed him toward operations. The boys leaving did not create the first crack in Victor and Vanessa's marriage either. It exposed cracks that had been there for years. According to Denise, Bennett and Sons had been sitting at their dinner table long before the DNA results arrived. Victor talked about succession while the boys were still trying to decide what kind of men they wanted to become. Vanessa had questioned the expansion more than once, especially after Victor borrowed against property and tied more of their private life to the company's debt. Victor usually answered that growth required confidence. Vanessa answered that confidence did not make a payment disappear. They argued about the boys too. Andrew wanted design and construction planning. Victor wanted operations. Adrian enjoyed business, but even he sometimes complained that every family conversation eventually became a discussion about the company, the Bennett name, or what would happen after Victor was gone. The paternity results did not invent those arguments. They removed the future Victor had been using to justify them. After the boys stepped away from the company, Vanessa kept telling Victor to call them as their father rather than summoning them as employees. Victor said he needed time. Vanessa asked what nearly 2 decades of fatherhood meant if one laboratory result could make him step backward. He told her she had no right to lecture him about truth. That sentence ended one argument and began another. Vanessa filed for divorce. She did not receive sympathy from many people. She had concealed the truth. She had allowed Victor and the boys to build their lives around certainty she did not possess. But she was not the reason Victor's love became conditional. Her lie exposed it. Denise told me about their final argument. Vanessa stood in the house they had shared and told Victor, "Punish me if you need someone to punish." Victor answered, "You made me raise another man's sons." Vanessa looked at him and said, "You did raise them." Victor did not answer. She continued, "You were there when they were born. You carried them when they were sick. You taught them to ride bicycles. You signed report cards. You gave them your name," Victor said. "That name was built on a lie," Vanessa replied. "The lie was mine. The years were yours." I do not know whether Victor ever understood the difference. The divorce moved quickly. It moved faster than the problems that had been building underneath their marriage. The business did not. Its decline came in smaller pieces over the following months. No single morning destroyed Bennett and Sons. One week brought another lender call. Another brought an equipment sale. Another ended with Victor deciding which location could close without making the rest of the company look frightened. By then, the company had already been carrying debt and pressure for almost 2 years. The family crisis arrived near the end of that financial problem, not at the beginning. For a while, Victor kept going to the office. He worked longer hours, called lenders, sold equipment, closed one location, then another. He blamed the divorce, the tests, the boys leaving, the economy, disloyal employees, customers who did not pay on time. Some of those explanations were true. None was the whole truth. The company had been in trouble before the DNA kits arrived. The tests did not create the debt. They only removed the future Victor had used to justify it. Without Adrian and Andrew, the words on the sign became almost unbearable. Bennett and Sons. The sons were gone. The lenders were calling. The building no longer belonged entirely to Victor. One morning, employees arrived and found the sign had been removed. No announcement, no explanation. Only pale marks where the letters had been attached to the wall. Several months later, the bank took control of the property. Victor sold the larger house. Most of the money went towards secured debts. He moved into a smaller apartment. Then he lost that too. By then, nearly 2 years had passed since my mother's funeral. The family photograph taken that day had remained on Denise's telephone all that time. She had seen it. Victor had not yet. But after the business was gone, the house was gone, and even the smaller apartment was no longer his. Victor went to Denise's home carrying 2 cardboard boxes from the last office he had cleared. That was when she finally showed him the photograph. She told me this much later. At the time, I knew nothing. Victor stood in Denise's living room wearing a jacket that no longer fit him properly. He had lost weight, his hair had turned almost completely gray. His business was gone. Vanessa had moved away. Adrian and Andrew responded to his messages occasionally, but had not seen him in months. Ariel had forgiven him from a distance. Victor was staying in an extended stay motel and telling people it was temporary. Denise was scrolling through photographs on her telephone when the family picture appeared. Victor saw it. Go back. Denise looked at him. To what? That picture. She returned to it. Victor took the telephone from her hand. For a long time he stared at the screen. Is that Amara? Yes. He enlarged the photograph. Those are the girls. Those are the women you keep calling girls. He ignored the correction. Naomi? Yes. Lydia? Yes. He pointed. Which one is Maya? The one standing beside Amara. And Mara? On the other side. Victor enlarged the photograph again. They look like Amara. Denise glanced at the screen. They always did. Victor studied the children. Whose boys are those? Denise took back the telephone. They are Amara's grandchildren. He looked at her. She has grandsons? She has grandchildren. How many? Denise locked the screen. That is not my information to give you. Victor stared at her. I am their grandfather. You are a man they have never met. His face changed. Denise told me she almost regretted the sentence, almost. Where does Amara live? She picked up one of his boxes. I am not giving you her address. I want to speak to her. Why? Because I need to. That is not an answer. Victor looked around Denise's house. His eyes rested on family photographs. Her children, her grandchildren, birthdays he had attended because those relationships had never required him to confront what he had done. I made mistakes, he said. Denise set down the box. You made decisions. Do not sound like her. Maybe she was right. He looked at his sister. I have nowhere else to go. There it was. Not the entire truth, but enough of it. Denise folded both arms. Are you asking Amara to house you? No. Are you asking the girls for money? No. Then what do you want? Victor sat on the edge of her sofa. For the first time, Denise saw him without the certainty that had protected him his entire life. I want to tell them I'm sorry. You have had 34 years. I know. Do you? Yes. Why now? He looked toward the dark telephone screen in her hand. I thought I had more time. Denise's face hardened. You said that to Mara. I know. You refused her wedding. I know. You refused all of them. I know. You stopped seeing Ariel. He looked away. You removed Adrian and Andrew from the company before the company was even gone. His jaw tightened. I was not thinking clearly. You were thinking exactly as you have always thought. That is not fair. Denise laughed. Do not use that sentence with me. He stood. Give me the address. No, Denise. They may not want to see you. I understand. No, you do not. You still believe wanting to speak creates a right to be heard. He picked up his boxes. At the door, he stopped. What if I die before I tell them? Denise looked at him. Then you will die with the consequences of waiting too long. Victor lowered his head. He left without the address. By then, Dorothy Bennett had been dead for years. She had lived long enough to know Adrian and Andrew as the grandsons she once insisted Victor needed, but she was gone long before the boys took the tests that later shook his life. Denise had grown up beneath the same family expectations as Victor, but they shaped her differently. Victor learned to treat the Bennett name as something a son was supposed to carry forward. Denise learned that peace in the Bennett family often depended on women swallowing the sentence that might make a man angry. Years after Dorothy died, Denise admitted something to me that explained much of what I had watched for decades. Whenever she challenged Victor hard enough, he withdrew. He stopped calling, he left her out. He made disagreement feel like disloyalty, so Denise learned to remain useful without standing fully on either side. She carried information, she warned people. She explained Victor, she apologized for him. She became the person who knew almost everything and stood fully inside almost nothing. It was not because she never knew right from wrong. It was because she was frightened of losing her brother whenever doing what was right required opposing him. That fear, explained Denise, it did not excuse her. For 3 days, Denise did nothing. Then Victor called from the motel. He said he had written letters, one for each daughter, one for me. He said he would leave them at the door if nobody wanted to see him. He promised he would not ask for money. He promised he would not ask to stay. He promised he only wanted one opportunity to tell the truth. Denise believed him, or perhaps she wanted to believe she could finally help repair something she had spent decades observing from a safe distance. She gave him my address. She did not call me. She did not warn my daughters. She told herself Victor might lose his courage if she delayed. 3 days later, he placed everything he still owned inside a small travel bag. He checked out of the motel. He wrote my address on the back of a receipt, and Victor Bennett began the journey toward the family he had spent 34 years teaching how to live without him. That Sunday, my house was full. All 4 daughters had come for our monthly family dinner, along with their husbands and the grandchildren. I had thought it was luck that everyone managed to be there at the same time. I did not know Victor was coming. When the knock came, I opened the door expecting someone who belonged to the life inside my house. Instead, I almost did not recognize him. The man I remembered had been broad-shouldered and proud, the kind of man who entered a room as though he expected people to notice. The man outside my door looked smaller, not short. Reduced, age had thinned his face and bent something in his posture. His hair, once dark and carefully trimmed, was almost completely gray. A brown jacket hung loosely from his shoulders, and one hand rested on the handle of a small travel bag. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then he said my name, Amara. There are voices the body remembers long after the heart stops waiting for them. His was one of those voices. I kept one hand on the door. Victor? A faint smile touched his mouth. Hello, Amara. Behind me, my house was alive. Someone laughed in the kitchen. A child shouted from the family room. Another voice called, Grandma. Victor's eyes moved toward the sound. He looked older than I ever imagined he would. Smaller, too. Not in height, in certainty. Grandma? He repeated. I kept one hand on the door. Yes. His throat moved. How many grandchildren do you have? I looked at him for a long moment. 34 years had passed, and still he stood there asking questions about a family he had chosen not to know. You do not get to ask me that yet. Pain flickered across his face. I came a long way, Amara. That was your choice. I know. Do you? From inside the house, another child called for me. Victor looked past me again. Are the girls here? Girls. My daughters were grown women now, but to him, perhaps they had remained frozen at the ages he left them. Naomi at 6, Lydia at 4, Maya and Mara only 4 days old. I studied his face. You do not get to ask that either. He lowered his eyes. I am sorry. I looked at him. 34 years collapsed into 3 small words. A mistake can be covered by 3 words, a forgotten appointment, a careless insult, a door slammed in anger. But some decisions grow roots. They enter childhoods, birthdays, graduations, empty chairs at weddings. They appear in the questions children ask when they are too young to understand why a parent chose not to stay. Victor had not made one mistake. He had made a decision. Then another, then another. For 34 years, I looked at the old man standing on my porch. You should go. Please, I said go. Just tell them I came. My fingers tightened around the door. No. Amara, you do not get to arrive after 34 years and make me your messenger. He stared at me. If you want to understand why, Victor, then start by remembering the day you left. I closed the door. For a moment, I stood in the hallway with my hand still wrapped around the handle. Behind me, the house had gone quiet. When I turned, 4 women were looking at me. My daughters, Naomi, Lydia, Maya, Mara, and from the expression on Naomi's face, I knew immediately. She had recognized his voice. 34 years later, she still remembered. From the family room, a child laughed. A toy airplane struck the wall. Then Mara's youngest son came running into the hallway. Grandma, it crashed again. He was 7 years old. One shoelace had come undone, and he carried the airplane by one wing. He stopped when he saw all 5 of us standing there. What happened? Nothing, sweetheart, Mara said. He looked at the front door. Who was outside? Mara crossed the hallway and crouched in front of him. One of Grandma's old acquaintances. I looked at her. She did not look back. Can you fix my airplane? I will help you in a minute. It needs tape. Ask Uncle Gabriel. He said it needs a mechanic. Then ask Grandpa Carter. The boy considered that. Grandpa Carter uses too much glue, despite everything. Naomi made a small sound that might have become laughter on another day. Mara touched her son's shoulder. Go back inside. I will come help you. He studied our faces. Children know when adults are placing furniture around the truth, but he nodded and returned to the family room. The moment he disappeared, Maya spoke. Why was he here? Her voice was low, controlled. Too controlled. I do not know. You spoke to him. For less than 2 minutes. What did he say? He said he was sorry. Maya laughed. The sound was sharp enough to cut through the hallway. Of course. Maya, Naomi said. What? The children are in the next room. I know where they are. Then lower your voice. Maya turned toward her. You recognized him too. Naomi stood beside the kitchen doorway. She had not moved since I turned from the door. Her face had become pale. Yes. How? Naomi's eyes remained on the door. I remember his voice. Maya stared at her. You were 6. I know how old I was. I did not mean. I know what you meant. Lydia stepped forward. Did he ask for anything? No. She looked toward the lower part of the door as though she could see the travel bag through it. He brought luggage. A small bag, I said. That is luggage. He may have come directly from somewhere. Everybody comes directly from somewhere. Lydia, she ignored the warning in my voice. Did he ask to come inside? No. Did he ask whether we were here? Yes. Maya folded her arms. And what did you tell him? That he did not get to ask. A flicker moved across her face. Approval. Then it disappeared. What else? He asked me to tell you he came. And I told him I would not become his messenger. Naomi finally turned away from the door. Good. The word came quietly. Mara walked toward the front window. I reached for her arm before she could move the curtain. Do not. I only want to see whether he left. He needs to leave. That is not what I said. Maya stepped toward her twin. What exactly do you want? I do not know yet. That is how he gets inside. He is not inside. He is standing outside Mom's house with a bag. Maya, no, Mara, we agreed. We agreed we would stop inviting him. We agreed we were done. That was your interpretation. It was everybody's interpretation. Mara looked toward Naomi and Lydia. Neither answered immediately. The silence angered Maya more than disagreement would have. You cannot be serious. Naomi removed her glasses and rubbed the bridge of her nose. I do not know what I am. He refused your wedding. I remember. He refused all of our weddings. I remember that too. He took one look at a photograph of his grandsons and suddenly found the address. We do not know that is what happened. We know Denise showed him the photograph. I turned toward her. How do you know? Maya looked at Lydia. Lydia's expression tightened. I followed the look. Lydia? She placed her handbag on the hallway table. Denise called me 2 weeks ago. The room changed. What did she want? She asked whether you still lived here. Maya threw up both hands. And you did not think that mattered? I asked why. What did she say? I demanded. She said she was updating her address book. Maya stared at her. And you believed that? No. Did you give her the address? She already had it. Did you tell anyone she called? I did not know Victor was coming. That is not what I asked. Lydia looked at Naomi. I told Naomi. Maya turned. You knew? Naomi put her glasses back on. I knew Denise called. And you said nothing? She calls occasionally. She asked whether Mom lived at the same address. We did not know why. You could have asked. Lydia did ask, and accepted an address book answer. Lydia's jaw tightened. I did not accept anything. You did nothing. I searched the public property records. Maya stopped. You did what? I confirmed Mom's address was already available through the property record. I looked at Lydia. You searched my house? I checked whether Denise could have found it without us. That is not an answer to why you did not tell me. I did not want to frighten you over a question that might mean nothing. Naomi looked at me. We were going to mention it today. Today? That is one reason we made sure everyone came to dinner. I glanced toward the family room. The noise of 9 grandchildren had reduced to the sound of a television and several competing conversations. This was our monthly Sunday dinner. Once a month, whoever was available came to my house. Sometimes all 4 daughters, sometimes only 2. Sometimes spouses arrived late because of work. Children slept on sofas, food stayed warm in the oven. Nobody needed a formal invitation, they simply came. Today, for the first time in months, everyone had managed to attend. I had thought it was luck. Now I understood Naomi and Lydia had been watching for something they could not name. "You should have told me. You are right," Naomi said. Lydia said nothing. Maya pointed toward the door. "And now he is here." "Not anymore," I said. Mara was still near the window. "He has not moved." All of us looked at her. "How do you know?" Maya asked. "I can see the shadow beneath the curtain." I released her arm and stepped toward the window. Victor stood beside the walkway, not on the porch anymore, near the edge of the yard. The travel bag rested beside one foot. He had not left. He seemed to be looking down at something in his hands. Letters, perhaps, or directions. Or nothing. There are moments when age creates an illusion of innocence. A bent posture, gray hair, clothes that no longer fit as they once did. The body softens the outline of the person who caused harm, and for a second, the past appears to be standing inside someone too fragile to have created it. But Victor's age had not lived my daughter's childhoods for them. It had not paid the overdue bills. It had not attended graduations. It had not held Naomi after the photograph. Age was not accountability. I closed the curtain. "He is still there," Mara said. "He will leave." "What if he does not?" "Then I will ask him again." Maya shook her head. "Call the police?" Naomi turned toward her. "For standing beside a public sidewalk? For refusing to leave?" Mom told him to go. He stepped off the property, so he knows exactly how far to move before it becomes somebody else's problem. "Maya," I said. "What?" "I am not calling the police unless he threatens someone or refuses a clear instruction to leave the property. He abandoned 4 children, but now we are concerned about treating him fairly? This is not about fairness. It sounds like it. It is about behaving according to who we are, not according to what he deserves." Maya looked toward the family room. Her husband, Dre, appeared in the doorway. He took one look at her face. "What happened?" "Victor is outside." Dre became still. "Victor Bennett?" "Yes." He looked at me. "Do you want me to go out there and tell him to leave?" "He is already off my property." Dre glanced toward the front window. "Then, do you want me to stay here in case he comes back to the door?" "Yes." "But nobody goes outside to confront him." Dre nodded. He did not question me again. That was one of the reasons Maya loved him. He would step forward. But he did not make another person's boundary about his strength. Gabriel appeared behind him. "What is going on?" Naomi looked toward the family room. "Keep the children inside." His expression changed. "Your father?" "Yes." Gabriel looked toward the front of the house, then back at Naomi. "What do you need from me?" "Keep the children away from the windows." He nodded. "Done." Nicholas turned to Lydia. "Did he threaten anyone?" "No." "Did he try to come inside?" "No." "Then I will stay inside unless you tell me otherwise." Alan looked toward Mara. She gave him a small shake of her head. Not now. He understood. He did not ask again. None of my daughter's husbands has met Victor. Victor existed in their marriages through stories, wounds, and habits, but not as a person who had ever sat at their tables. I looked at the 4 men. "I need you to return to the family room." Maya turned toward me. "Why?" "Because this conversation belongs to me and my daughters." Dre touched her elbow. She moved away. "I do not need protection from my husband." "I know," he said. "Then do not manage me. I am not." His voice remained calm. "I am reminding you that your children can hear every word." Maya looked past him. 2 of her sons stood near the sofa, pretending not to watch. She lowered her voice. "Take them outside through the back." Dre nodded. Within minutes, the husbands had gathered the grandchildren and moved them into the backyard. The TV remained on. A cartoon voice spoke cheerfully to an empty room. The 5 of us went into the kitchen. Naomi closed the door. For a while, nobody sat. I reached for the kettle. Lydia took it from my hand. "You do not have to make tea. I want tea." "You make tea when you need everyone to calm down. Then it appears appropriate." She filled the kettle. Maya stood beside the counter. "I do not want him near my children." "He has not asked to meet them," Mara said. "He asked how many grandchildren Mom had." We all looked at her. I had not told them that yet. "How do you know?" Maya asked. Mom's face. Mara looked at me. "He asked, did he not?" "Yes." Maya closed her eyes. "There it is." "What?" Naomi asked. The reason. We still do not know the reason. He spent his life chasing sons. Then he discovered Mom has grandsons. Naomi looked at me. Did you tell him how many? No. Did he see any of the children? He heard them. Mara's son had called me Grandma while Victor stood at the door. I remembered Victor repeating the word, Grandma. Not as a man discovering that time had passed, as though the existence of grandchildren required information to which he was entitled. Lydia placed 5 cups on the table. He may know the number already. Denise knew, I said. Did she? Yes. How? She is still connected to relatives who see family photographs. Maya sat down. This is not complicated. It is not simple either, Mara replied. Why do you keep defending him? I am not defending him. It sounds like it. I want information. You always want information. Yes. And what will you do after you have it? Decide. Maya pushed her chair away from the table. We decided years ago. You decided what to do with the information we had then. What new information could change 34 years? Maybe none. Then why open the door? I did not say open the door. You want to hear him? Yes. The words settled over the table. Maya stared at her twin. Naomi lowered herself into a chair. Lydia remained standing. I watched Mara. Why? She folded her hands. Because he came. That is not enough, Maya said. For you, for anyone. Mara looked at her. I asked him once whether he ever wanted to know us, and he gave you an answer. He gave me part of one. He said he was ashamed. Yes. What more do you need? I do not know. Maya laughed bitterly. Exactly. Mara's expression remained steady. You are afraid that hearing him will weaken something. I am afraid he will hurt us again. We are not children. Naomi looked at her sharply. Neither was Ariel. Mara lowered her eyes. Naomi continued, being an adult does not make you immune to a parent. I know. Do you? Mara looked at her eldest sister. Yes. I do. Naomi removed the lid from her cup, though nobody had poured the tea yet. When I heard his voice, I was 6 again. Nobody spoke. She looked toward the kitchen door. I saw the suitcase before I saw him. There was a bag today, Lydia said. I know. Naomi pressed both palms against the table. My mind knew I was standing in Mom's house. I knew Gabriel was in the next room. I knew my daughter was arguing about dessert. Her voice softened. But for one moment, I was barefoot in that hallway. I sat beside her. She did not pull away. I do not want to see him, she said. Mara nodded. Then you should not. Naomi looked at her. I also do not want you to see him alone. I would not. Maya stood again. We are discussing this as though a meeting is happening. No meeting has been arranged, I said. Then let us keep it that way. Lydia finally sat. What if he is ill? Maya looked at her. So, I am asking, would illness repay school fees? No. Would it attend weddings? No. Then why does it matter? Because motive matters. Not to me. It may matter to Mom. All 4 daughters looked at me. I had spent years answering questions about Victor, why he left, why he missed birthdays, why he loved sons differently, why he stayed away. Now they were waiting for me to decide whether he deserved to speak. I do not know why he came, I said. That is why we ask, Mara replied. No, they waited. I will not let uncertainty force us into a decision today. Maya's shoulders lowered slightly. Mara did not move. If Victor wants to tell the truth, he can write it. He may have, Mara said. What do you mean? She looked toward the window. He was holding envelopes. I remembered the papers in his hands. Letters, 1 for each daughter. Perhaps 1 for me. Naomi looked ill. I do not want a letter. You do not have to read it, I said. I do not want him writing to my house. He does not know your address. He found yours. That does not mean he knows ours. For another few minutes, Victor remained where he was. Nobody went outside. Nobody invited him back to the door. Through the narrow opening in the curtain, I watched him stand beside the sidewalk with the travel bag at his feet. Then he bent, picked it up, and looked toward the house one last time. He did not wave. He did not come back onto the property. He simply turned and started walking. Mara remained beside the window. He is leaving. We watched until he reached the end of the block. Then he disappeared from view. Only after he was gone did Lydia reach for her telephone. What are you doing? I asked. Calling Denise. Maya pulled out a chair, put it on speaker. Lydia selected the number. Denise answered after the fourth ring. Hello? It is Lydia. There was a brief hesitation on the other end. Lydia, did you give Victor Mom's address? Denise did not answer immediately. Lydia looked up at us. That hesitation told us enough. Denise? Yes. Maya leaned toward the telephone. Why? I thought he wanted to apologize. You thought? He wrote letters. Mara looked at me. I knew it. Lydia's voice remained measured. Where is he staying? Denise did not answer. Where is Victor staying? He was at an extended stay place near the highway. Was? He checked out this morning. Where is he going tonight? I do not know. Does he have a home? This time Denise took so long to answer that Maya slowly leaned back in her chair. No. Naomi stood abruptly and walked toward the sink. Maya stared at the telephone. Of course. Denise's voice became defensive. He said he was not asking Amara for housing. Then why did he bring his belongings? Lydia asked. He only has one bag. That did not answer the question. He said he would find somewhere. With what money? I do not know his finances. You knew enough to give him Mom's address. I was trying to help. Maya laughed. You people always try to help him by making him somebody else's responsibility. That is not what I did. You sent a homeless man with 34 years of guilt to our mother's door without warning. I believed he would leave the letters. He asked to see us, Naomi said from across the kitchen. Denise became quiet. Naomi approached the telephone. Did he tell you he wanted to see us? Yes. Did he tell you he had been watching photographs of our children? No. Did he ask how many grandsons we have? He asked about the family. That was not my question. Denise hesitated. He noticed the boys in the photograph. Maya closed both eyes. There it was. Not proof of his entire motive, but enough to show that our sons had entered his thinking before he came. What exactly did he say? Lydia asked. He asked whose children they were. And I told him they were Amara's grandchildren. What did he say after that? He asked whether all of them were boys. I felt something inside me settle. Not surprise, recognition. Victor's language had changed. The desire had not. Naomi spoke slowly. You told him? I told him the photograph did not show everyone. Did you give him the total? No. Did you tell him there were 7 boys? No. Maya looked at me. He came for them. We do not know that. He came because he saw them. That may be part of it. What other part could possibly matter? His business is gone, Lydia said. Everybody looked at her. Denise spoke from the telephone. How do you know? Public records. Lydia. Is it true? Denise sighed. Yes. The house? Sold? The apartment? He lost it. How much debt? I do not know. Does he need money? He said he would not ask. That is not what I asked. I do not know. Lydia's expression became distant. She was arranging facts. The business, the house, the motel, the travel bag, the letters, the family photograph, the grandsons. Victor's arrival was not caused by one event. It was the point where every loss reached the same address. Why today? Mara asked. Denise answered more softly. I do not know. I gave him the address 3 days ago. I did not know all of you would be there. Maya frowned. You did not tell him? Tell him what? That this was our family dinner. I did not know it was. I believed her. Denise knew many things about our lives. Our monthly dinner schedule was not one of them. I looked at the telephone. You should have called me. I know. Why did you not? The line stayed quiet long enough that I knew the answer would cost her something. Because I was afraid you would tell me I had no right to give it to him. Maya leaned toward the telephone. So you knew you were crossing a line before you crossed it. Denise did not defend herself. Yes. And you did it anyway. Yes. I heard Denise draw in a breath. I'm not going to call it a mistake, Amara. I made the decision. I believed he would leave the letters and go. I should have warned you. For years, Denise had hidden inside words like trying, helping, and meaning well. That was the first time I heard her place the decision where it belonged. Naomi spoke from across the table. Do not give Victor information about us again. I will not. That includes our children. I understand. No photographs, no addresses, no jobs, no weddings, no schools. I understand. If he asks, tell him you do not have permission. All right. Lydia ended the call. The kettle had begun whistling. Nobody had noticed. I turned off the stove. Outside, one of the grandchildren shouted. A ball struck the fence. Life continued in the backyard while 5 women sat around a kitchen table discussing whether the man who created their family had any right to approach it. Maya stood near the doorway. Well, I poured the water. We know more than we did. He has no home, Lydia said. He has no business, Naomi added. He saw the boys, Maya said. He wrote letters, Mara said. I carried the cups to the table, and he said he came to apologize. Maya looked at me. Do you believe him? I believe he is sorry. For what? That his life collapsed? Yes. That he is alone? Yes. That the sons he built everything around left? Yes, she waited. Is he sorry for us? I do not know. That is the only question that matters. No, Lydia said. Maya turned. What matters more? What he intends to do with the apology? Maya stared at her. Lydia continued. An apology can be a request disguised as accountability. Naomi nodded slowly. He may want forgiveness so he can stop feeling guilty. Or housing, Maya said. Or money, Lydia added. Or access to the grandchildren, Mara said. The room went quiet. She looked at all of us. I am not saying that is why he came. But it may be, Maya replied. Yes. Mara's willingness to hear Victor did not make her naive. She simply believed decisions should be made after the questions had been asked aloud. Naomi wrapped both hands around her cup. What would a meeting look like? Maya turned toward her. You said you did not want to see him. I do not. Then why are you asking? Because Mara does. Mara looked surprised. Naomi continued. And if she speaks to him, I do not want her carrying the entire family history into that room alone. I can go with her, Lydia said. Maya shook her head. So we are all going. No one has said that, I replied. Maya looked toward me. What do you want? I thought about the man outside, the husband I once loved, the father my daughters once waited for, the stranger who had arrived with letters and one small bag after the rest of his life had fallen away. I did not want him in my home. That answer was immediate. I did not want him at my table. I did not want his apology unfolding beneath photographs of the childhoods he had missed, but I also did not want Victor's voice living in our family as another unanswered sound behind a closed door. I will speak to him once, I said. Maya looked away. Mara released a breath. Naomi studied me. Alone? No. With us? Only those who choose to come. Where? Lydia asked. Not here. Maya looked back. Why speak to him at all? Because I want to know what he came to ask for. He will lie. Then we will know that too. He may cry, tears do not change facts. He may say he is dying. Then he will still be responsible for how he lived. Maya's face softened, only slightly. What if he says everything you once wanted to hear? The question reached farther than she intended. I looked at my daughter. I stopped waiting for those words before you finished elementary school. She lowered her eyes. I am not bringing Victor into this house, I continued. He will not meet the children. He will not speak to the husbands. He will not arrive unannounced again. Lydia nodded. A neutral location. Yes. My office building has a private conference room, Mara said. It is closed on Saturdays. No, Naomi replied. Not your workplace. Why? Because if the meeting goes badly, I do not want him connecting your office with access to you. Lydia considered it. My consulting firm uses a community meeting room in the library annex. That is public, Maya said. The entrance is public. The room is private. Cameras? In the hallway? Security? During operating hours, Mara looked at her. That works. Everybody turned toward Maya. She remained silent. Maya, Naomi said, I heard. You do not have to attend. And let him sit there telling his version without me. No one will speak for you. That has never stopped him. She paced once across the kitchen. Then she looked at me. One meeting. One. No children. No husbands. Agreed. No money. I have no intention of giving him money. No promises. Agreed. No touching. Naomi looked at her. Maya, I mean it. You can tell him not to touch you. I do not want him hugging anyone because he walked into a room with gray hair and regret. I nodded. He will be told. Mara asked, what about the letters? He can bring them, I said. Nobody has to accept one. Naomi looked toward the hallway. I do not want mine. You may tell him. I do not want to explain. Then do not. Lydia opened the calendar on her telephone. Saturday morning. So soon? Maya asked. The longer we delay, the more opportunities he has to return here. That decided it. Lydia called Denise again. Victor did not own a telephone anymore, but Denise had the motel number he had used before checking out and the number of a friend who sometimes allowed him to receive messages. She agreed to locate him. She found him through the friend that evening. Victor had been sleeping on the man's sofa since leaving my house and said he could remain there until the meeting. Before the call ended, I took the telephone. Denise, yes? Tell Victor this clearly. I will. He is not invited to my house. All right. He is not to come near my daughter's homes or workplaces. All right. He will not meet the grandchildren. I understand. He may attend one conversation at the library annex on Saturday at 10 in the morning. One conversation. If he asks for money, housing, or access to the children, the meeting ends. I will tell him. If he comes to my house before then, there will be no meeting. Denise was quiet. Then she said, he will understand. No, I replied. He will obey. Understanding is no longer required. I ended the call. Saturday arrived cold and gray. I reached the library annex first. Lydia had reserved a rectangular conference room with 6 chairs around a plain table. No family photographs, no children's drawings, no evidence of the life Victor had missed, only white walls. A clock, a pitcher of water, 6 empty chairs. I chose the one nearest the door. Lydia arrived next carrying a folder. What is that? Documents. I said this was a conversation. It is. Then why do you need documents? Because memory becomes negotiable when people are ashamed. I did not ask what she had brought. Naomi arrived wearing dark trousers and a plain sweater. She carried nothing. Mara came with a notebook but left it closed on the table. Maya arrived last. She stood at the door. You came, Mara said. Do not sound surprised. I was not certain. Neither was I. Maya chose the chair farthest from the one we had left for Victor. At 9:58, footsteps sounded in the hallway. They stopped outside the room. Nobody moved. The handle turned. Victor entered carrying the same small travel bag. He had changed his shirt. His jacket remained loose around his shoulders. In one hand, he held 5 envelopes. He looked at me first, then Naomi, Lydia, Maya, Mara. His eyes moved slowly across the 4 women. For the first time in 34 years, Victor Bennett stood in a room with all of his daughters. Nobody called him Dad. Nobody stood to greet him. Nobody opened her arms. Victor placed the travel bag beside the door. Then he looked at the empty chair. May I sit? Lydia answered. You may. He lowered himself into the chair. The envelopes remained in his hand. For several seconds, the only sound in the room came from the clock. Then Victor said, Thank you for coming. Maya leaned back. We did not come for you. Victor looked at her. I understand. No, she said. You do not. I placed one hand on the table. Maya. She turned toward me. This meeting will not become shouting. Victor lowered his eyes. I deserve whatever she wants to say. Maya gave a small, cold smile. That is the first thing you have said that sounds prepared. His face changed. I looked at the envelopes. Before you apologize, tell us why you're here. Victor held my gaze. I came because I should have come years ago. That explains when, Lydia said. Not why. He looked at her. You are Lydia. She did not answer. He turned toward Naomi. And you are Naomi. Naomi's expression remained still. Victor looked at the twins. Maya, then Mara. He had to study them before deciding which name belonged to which face. Maya noticed. Of course she did. You still cannot tell us apart. Victor looked down. I have only seen photographs. You had 34 years to learn. I know, Mara spoke quietly. Why are you here? Victor placed the envelopes on the table. His fingers remained over them. My life has fallen apart. Nobody moved. My business is gone. My marriage ended. Adrian and Andrew, his voice failed for a moment. He swallowed. They are not my biological sons. Naomi looked at him. We know. Victor stared at her. How? Because they contacted us, Mara answered. The color left his face. They did what? They wanted the truth, Lydia said. What did you tell them? Maya leaned forward. The truth. Victor looked from one daughter to another. Something defensive entered his posture. I recognized it immediately. The meeting had begun less than 5 minutes earlier, and already he was measuring what information other people had exchanged without his control. I spoke before he could ask another question. You said your life fell apart. Victor looked at me. It did. Is that why you came? He took a moment before answering. It is part of why I finally stopped pretending I had more time. That was not my question. Victor looked down at the envelopes. Then, yes. Losing everything forced me to look at things I had spent years refusing to look at, including us. Especially you. His hands closed around the envelopes. After everything happened, I realized I had spent my entire life chasing something I thought I needed. Nobody interrupted. I thought having sons would mean. He stopped. What? Maya asked. He looked at her. That I had built something that would continue after me. Maya's eyes hardened. And when the boys were not biologically yours, you remembered we existed? Victor shook his head. It was not like that. Then tell us what it was like. He looked around the table. I lost the boys. Naomi's voice remained calm. They are alive. Victor looked at her. I know they are alive. Then what exactly did you lose? He looked down. The place I thought I had in their lives. Naomi waited. Did the test take that place from you? Victor did not answer immediately. No, he admitted. I think I damaged it myself. Because they stopped being your sons? Because I behaved as though they had. Victor lowered his eyes. I watched him, the travel bag beside the door, the envelopes beneath his hands, the 4 daughters facing him. He had entered believing regret would be the most difficult thing he carried into the room. He had not yet understood that regret was only the beginning. Accountability was waiting for him after it. Victor sat across from us with his hands resting over 5 envelopes. For years I had imagined what accountability might look like. I had imagined anger, denial. Perhaps a man finally lowering his head beneath the weight of everything he had refused to carry. I had never imagined a plain conference room, a clock ticking above the door, a pitcher of untouched water, 4 grown daughters sitting across from a father who had missed almost every important moment of their lives. There was nothing cinematic about it. No music, no crowd, no thunder outside, only the truth, waiting to see whether Victor would speak it without rearranging the words to protect himself. He looked at Naomi. I did not mean that Adrian and Andrew are dead. Then stop speaking as though the test buried them, she said. Victor's fingers shifted over the envelopes. I raised them. Yes, they were my sons. They still consider you their father. His mouth tightened. You do not know what they consider me. We spoke to them. I know that now. They told us they still loved you. Victor looked away. Naomi watched him. They were angry. They were hurt. But they did not erase nearly 2 decades. I did not erase anything. You removed them from the business. That was a legal decision. Lydia opened the folder she had brought. Victor looked at it. What is that? Public records. His face changed. Lydia removed several documents and arranged them in front of herself. You changed the company succession documents 11 days after the second paternity result. Victor stared at her. How did you get those? They were filed. You had no right to investigate my business. Lydia's expression remained unchanged. You came to us because your business disappeared. That does not give you the right. You are already defending yourself. Victor stopped. Lydia placed one finger against the top page. You told Adrian and Andrew the business belonged to the Bennett family. It did. They carried the name Bennett. Victor shifted in his chair. You know what I meant? Lydia's voice became colder. Yes, you meant blood. My father built the first part of that company. Maya leaned back, and somehow the company he left you received more protection from you than the daughters you created yourself. Victor turned toward her. That is not what I meant. I know. That is the problem. Lydia waited until Victor looked back at her. What did your father actually leave you? A business he spent most of his adult life building. Only a business? Victor frowned. Of course not. Then what else? He taught me to work, to provide, to protect what belonged to the family. Lydia stared at him. Listen to what you just said. Victor became quiet. Provide, protect, family. She leaned forward. Which of those lessons required you to abandon 4 children? None of them. Which required you to remove Adrian and Andrew when their DNA changed? His eyes dropped to the table. None. Then perhaps your father's legacy was never the part you lost. Victor looked at her. Perhaps it was the part you failed to carry, and your daughters built lives with money you refused to send. That is not the same thing. Of course it is not. Lydia sat back. One was important to you. Victor looked toward me. I did not rescue him. He returned his attention to Lydia. I was trying to protect what my father left. What did your father leave? The business. Only the business? Victor frowned. What do you mean? Did he leave you values? Yes. Responsibilities? Yes. A name you believed meant something? Yes. Then why did you reduce everything he left to property? Victor said nothing. Lydia continued. You removed Adrian and Andrew from the company because they did not share your blood. Then the company failed anyway. It was already in trouble. I know, he looked at the papers. How much do you know? Enough. Then you know the tests did not destroy it. Lydia held his gaze. The tests exposed what was already there. Victor leaned back. I was dealing with loans, contracts, and a market that changed. I know that too. I tried to save it. I believe you did. Victor looked at her more carefully. Then you understand it was not as simple as everyone thinks. I understand the business failed for several reasons. Victor's shoulders eased slightly for the first time since Lydia opened the folder. He seemed to believe she might be giving him something he could use. She was not. What I do not understand is why you needed Adrian and Andrew to carry the blame for it. His expression changed. I did not. Lydia looked down at the papers. Your former business partner said you blamed their disloyalty. Victor leaned back. He should mind his own affairs. Lydia looked up. He was financially responsible for some of yours. Victor's mouth tightened. Whatever he told you, the boys leaving did not destroy the company. I know. Then why are we talking about this? Because you knew they did not destroy it, and you still allowed people to believe their leaving was part of the reason. Victor looked away. Lydia closed the folder. There is a difference between explaining what happened to you and assigning responsibility for what you did. Victor did not answer. Lydia let the sentence sit for a moment, then placed both hands on the closed folder. And that brings me back to what you said when you walked into this room. Victor looked at her. You came here saying your life fell apart. It did. Parts of it were taken from you. He continued watching her. Vanessa lied. The test results hurt you. The contracts ended. The lenders called. Those things happened to you. Victor nodded slowly. But other parts were built by you. His face hardened. I admitted I made mistakes. Which ones? He looked at the 4 daughters. All of it. That is not an answer. What do you want from me? Specificity. His hands lifted from the envelopes. You want a list? Yes. Victor stared at her. Lydia did not move. A list will not change anything, he said. No, but it will tell me whether you understand what needs changing. He looked at me. Amara, is this necessary? I held his gaze. You asked for this meeting. I asked to apologize. You cannot apologize for a blur. Victor lowered his eyes. The clock moved forward 1 second. Then another. Finally, he said, I left. Lydia waited. I left your mother. Maya laughed once. Victor looked toward her. You left 4 children, she said. I know. Say it correctly. He swallowed. I left your mother and the 4 of you. On what day? Lydia asked. He looked at her. What day did you leave? You know what day? I want to hear whether you do. Victor's shoulders lowered. The day the twins came home from the hospital. Maya stared at him. How old were we? 4 days. And Naomi, 6. Lydia, 4. Lydia folded her hands. Continue. Victor looked down at the envelopes. I did not provide enough money. Naomi's face remained still. You did not provide consistently, Lydia said. Victor nodded. I sent money sometimes, not consistently enough. You missed visits, more than I kept. Birthdays, yes. School expenses, too many. Graduations. He looked toward Naomi. I should have been there. Weddings. His voice lowered. All 4. You returned Naomi's graduation announcement unopened. I did not write return to sender. You allowed a household where that could happen. Victor pressed his lips together. Yes. Lydia continued. You refused Naomi's wedding because Vanessa would be uncomfortable. I chose keeping peace in my house over showing up for my daughter. Naomi's expression did not change. Lydia moved on. You sent me a check after mine. I thought money could stand in for being there. I returned it. I remember. You called Maya before her wedding only after someone else told you. Victor looked toward Maya. I did. You refused Mara because too much time had passed. He looked at Mara. I used the time I had wasted as an excuse to waste more of it. Lydia sat back. That is the beginning of the list. Victor rubbed both hands over his face. I know I failed you. Maya leaned forward. Failed is a soft word. He lowered his hands. What word would you use? Chose. Victor watched her. You chose Celeste. Yes. You chose Vanessa. Yes. You chose Ariel until biology embarrassed you. His eyes sharpened. That is not fair. Maya smiled without warmth. There it is. I loved Ariel. Then why did she have to ask whether blood erased 17 years? Victor's face changed. How do you know about that? Because people speak when you stop controlling the room. He looked toward me. I said nothing. Maya continued. You did not only leave us because you wanted a son. That was part of it. Part? I was unhappy in the marriage. You were sleeping with another woman while Mom was carrying twins. I know. You packed while she was in the hospital. I know. You looked at 2 newborn girls and saw disappointment. Victor looked toward the table. Maya's voice remained steady. I have spent my entire life hearing people explain you as though the explanation improves anything. I'm not asking anyone to explain me. You came here to explain yourself. I came to tell you I was wrong. Then tell me why you were wrong. Victor looked at her. Because daughters are as valuable as sons. Maya's chair moved backward. She stood. That is still not it. Victor watched her. Maya placed both palms against the table. We did not need you to discover that women have value. Her voice rose, but she did not shout. We needed you to recognize that we were your children. The room became still. You keep speaking about daughters and sons as categories, as though you rejected an idea. She pointed toward Naomi. She was 6 years old. She waited beside the telephone. Then Lydia. She was 4. She learned the price of food before she learned what security felt like. Maya touched one hand to herself. I built my first business at 14 because I wanted soccer equipment without watching Mom decide which bill could wait. Her hand moved toward Mara. She searched your name because you left so little of yourself behind that the internet knew you better than she did. Victor's eyes lowered. Maya continued, We are not proof that daughters can succeed. Her words slowed. We are proof that children can survive being failed. Nobody moved. Do not look at our careers, and tell yourself everything turned out well. Victor's mouth opened. Maya did not allow him to speak. Naomi's medical practice does not erase the school hallway where she sat because you would not pay her fees. Naomi looked toward her sister. Lydia's company does not repay the nights she watched Mom arrange bills. Lydia's face changed. My business does not belong to you because I carry your surname. Victor lowered his head. And Mara's life does not become your second chance because she is willing to hear you. Mara looked down. Maya straightened. You do not get to point at 4 successful women and call us evidence that your choices caused no damage. Her voice became quieter. We succeeded around the damage. She returned to her chair. Victor did not speak for several seconds. Then he said, I have never claimed your success. You called those boys your legacy. They were my sons. So were we your daughters. Yes. Then what were we? Victor looked at her. The question was simple. He could not answer it. Maya nodded. That is what I thought. Victor remained quiet for several seconds. Then he said, My mother used to talk about sons as though they were the continuation of a family. Maya's eyes narrowed. There is another explanation. I'm not blaming her. Victor looked down at his hands. For years I did. I told myself I had been raised to believe sons carried the name and daughters eventually belonged somewhere else. He lifted his eyes again. But Dorothy has been dead for years. I was a grown man for all of them. She taught me something. I chose to keep believing it because it gave me an excuse for what I wanted. Nobody rescued him from the sentence. For the first time, I heard Victor separate what he had inherited from what he had chosen. Naomi had remained quiet while the others spoke. She now looked at Victor with the calm expression she used when delivering difficult information to families at the hospital. I have one question. Victor turned toward her. Ask me, why did you come after the boys left? He leaned back. It was not only because of them. That was not my question. I wanted to come before. When? Many times. Name one. Victor hesitated. After your graduation, you returned the announcement. I told you I did not do that. Did you come? No. Did you call? No. Then wanting to come existed only inside you. He looked down. Naomi continued. After my wedding? I did not think you wanted me there. I invited you. I mean, afterward. Did you call? No. When my daughter was born. I did not know. Did you ask? No. When my son was born. Victor looked at her. You have a son? Naomi's face did not change. Yes. How old is he? You do not get to ask. The words echoed my answer from the doorway. Victor heard it too. He lowered his eyes. Naomi continued. You knew about our careers through relatives. You knew we married. You knew we had lives. I did not know how to approach you, yet you found a way after the DNA tests. Victor's voice became strained. I lost everything at once. No, Naomi said. You lost the belief that everything you valued belonged to you. He stared at her. You still had Adrian and Andrew. They would barely speak to me. You still had Ariel. She had built a life without me. Naomi held his gaze. So had we. The sentence silenced him. You did not return when you believed your sons were biologically yours. I thought you wanted to be left alone. You did not return after Ariel forgave you. I was ashamed. You did not return when your business began failing. I was trying to save it. You returned after Adrian and Andrew rejected the conditions you placed on their place in your life. Victor shook his head. That is not the entire reason. Then tell me the entire reason. He looked toward me. I saw the instinct, the wish that I would interrupt, soften the question, remind Naomi he was old. Say he had suffered enough. I did none of those things. Victor turned back to her. I was afraid. Of what? Dying alone. Naomi's eyes did not move. That is honest. I do not want sympathy. You came to a family after losing yours. You are my family. The words came quickly. Too quickly. Maya's chair shifted. Naomi raised one hand. She was not finished. We were your family when we needed formula. Victor's face tightened. We were your family when school sent me out of class. I know. We were your family when Lydia married. I know. We were your family when Maya built a company. I know. We were your family when Mara asked whether you ever wanted to know her. Victor's eyes filled. I know. Naomi's voice remained level. You do not get to discover that we are your family only because nobody else is available. Victor looked down. For the first time since entering, he stopped trying to answer. Naomi watched him. Then she said, I spent years believing there must have been something about us that made leaving easier. Victor lifted his head. There was nothing wrong with you. I know that now. I was the problem. Yes. He seemed startled by how easily she agreed. Naomi continued, but knowing that did not return my childhood. I know. Do you? Yes. When I heard your voice at Mom's door, I was 6 years old again. Victor's face folded. I am sorry. She raised one hand. Do not say it yet. He closed his mouth. I want you to understand what happened. She placed her glasses on the table. I have treated children whose parents disappeared. Her voice became quieter. I have watched them blame themselves because children would rather believe they can change enough to bring a parent back than accept that the adult chose not to return. Victor's breathing became uneven. I did that. Yes, I made you believe. You made me useful. He looked confused. Naomi explained. I thought if I helped Mom enough, if I watched Lydia, if I took care of the twins, if I earned good grades, if I became easy to love, then maybe nobody else would leave. Victor's eyes closed. Naomi waited until he opened them. I became a doctor because I wanted to become one. Her voice did not rise. But the part of me that never rests was shaped in a house where a 6-year-old child believed she had to earn permanence. Victor wiped beneath one eye. I never knew. Naomi nodded. That is the problem. Mara had kept her notebook closed. She touched it now but did not open it. Did you love Adrian and Andrew? Victor looked toward her. Yes. Do you still? Yes. Why did you remove them from the company? He looked exhausted. I was angry. At them? At everything. They were standing closest. Victor looked down. Mara continued. Did you love Ariel? Yes. Why did you stop answering her? I did not know how to look at her without seeing the lie. Whose lie? Celeste's? Then why did Ariel have to wear it? Victor said nothing. Mara watched him carefully. Did you love us? His answer came immediately. Yes. Maya looked away. Mara did not. When? Victor's face changed. What do you mean? When did you love us? I always loved you. While you were leaving? Yes. While you missed our birthdays? Yes. While you refused our weddings? He hesitated. Yes. Mara nodded slowly. That is what Mom meant. Victor looked toward me. What? She told us your love was not safe. The sentence seemed to reach him more deeply than the accusations had. He looked at me. You said that? Yes. Why? Because I had to explain how someone could feel something and still behave as though it did not matter. Victor stared at me. Mara continued. I spent years believing love and presence were the same. She folded her hands. Then I learned a person can feel love and still choose himself every time that love asks something difficult. Victor's lips pressed together. Did you come because you love us? Yes. Did you come because you're alone? Yes. Did you come because you lost the boys? Yes. Did you come because you saw our sons? Victor became still. Nobody moved. Mara repeated the question. Did you come because you saw our sons? His eyes shifted toward me. That was enough for Maya. She stood again. I knew it. Victor lifted one hand. Please. Mara remained seated. I asked you. He lowered his hand. Denise showed me a photograph. We know. I saw the family. You saw boys. I saw all of you. Which did you ask about first? Victor said nothing. Mara's voice did not change. Which? The children. That is not an answer. He looked down. The boys. Maya turned toward the door. Naomi reached for her wrist. Stay. I have heard enough. Maya. Victor spoke. I did not come to claim anyone. Maya turned. You asked how many grandsons Mom had before you asked what your daughters had become? I was overwhelmed. You were counting. No. Yes. Victor shook his head. I saw them and realized how much time had passed. Mara asked, would you have come if they were all girls? The question entered the room so quietly that nobody reacted at first. Then Victor looked at her. What? If the photograph had shown only granddaughters, would you have asked for this address? His mouth opened. No answer came. Mara looked down at her hands. That is what I needed to know. Victor leaned forward. It was not only the boys. Only is not the important word. I saw my daughters. You saw proof that your bloodline continued. He stared at her. You wanted the sons we raised because the sons you raised were not biologically yours. That is not fair. Mara looked up, then corrected. Victor's face had become wet. He did not wipe it. I do not know. The admission barely carried across the table. Mara waited. I do not know whether I would have come then. Maya moved toward the door. This time, nobody stopped her. She reached the handle. Victor spoke behind her. But I am here now. Maya turned. That is not the defense you think it is. She returned to her chair, but did not sit. Victor looked at all 4 daughters. I saw the photograph and understood that life had continued without me, Naomi answered. That should not have surprised you. It did. Why? Because, he searched for the words, because in my mind, you were still young. Lydia's expression hardened. We aged every day, I know. No, you remembered us only at the ages when you last had power over what happened. Victor looked at her. You kept Naomi at 6, me at 4, Maya and Mara as babies. She placed one hand on the folder. You were allowed to become older, build businesses, marry again, and raise other children. We remained frozen inside the story you told about why you stayed away. Victor looked toward the wall. Lydia continued. Then you saw adult daughters and grandsons and realized the family had become valuable without you. That is not what I thought. It may not be the sentence you used. His eyes returned to hers. But it is what brought you here. Victor lowered his head for a long time. None of us spoke. The clock continued. The water remained untouched. People moved through the hallway outside the room. A cart rolled past. A child asked someone where the restroom was. Ordinary life surrounded the worst conversation our family had ever held. Victor finally lifted his head. What do you want me to say? I looked at him. The truth. I have told you. Parts of it. He turned toward me. What part is missing? What do you want from us? I told you. I want to apologize. And after that, nothing. Lydia opened the folder again. You checked out of the motel. Victor looked at her. How do you know that? Denise told us. His face changed. She had no right. Maya laughed. Everyone has rights except the people carrying the consequences. Victor rubbed his forehead. I could not keep paying for it. Where are you staying tonight? Lydia asked. I will find somewhere. With what money? I have some. How much? That is not your concern. You arrived with all your belongings and asked a family you abandoned to hear an apology. Lydia leaned forward. Whether you expect housing is absolutely our concern. I do not. Do you expect money? No. Employment through one of our companies? No. Medical support through Naomi? No. Legal or financial help? No. Access to the grandchildren? Victor hesitated. Maya let out a breath. There it was. I would like to know them, he said. Naomi spoke before anyone else. That is not happening. He looked at her. You do not speak for everyone. Her face became still. You are already dividing us into possible answers. I did not mean. You looked around the table and calculated who might say yes. Victor stared at her. Naomi continued. You thought Mara might. Mara lowered her eyes. You thought Mom might soften. I felt Victor look at me. You thought Lydia might help because she solves practical problems. Lydia closed the folder. And you knew Maya would refuse, so you prepared to describe her as angry. Victor's face emptied. Naomi sat back. You have been in this room less than an hour, and you're already trying to find the weakest boundary. I am not. Then accept the first answer. He looked toward the table. Mara spoke. My children will not meet you. Victor closed his eyes. Lydia added, neither will mine. Maya finally sat. You already know my answer. Victor looked at Naomi. She held his gaze. My children have grandparents. His voice became strained. I am their grandfather. Naomi shook her head. You are related to them. The distinction landed hard. Victor stared at her. Naomi did not look away. Grandfather is not a biological title in my house. Nobody spoke, she continued. Gabriel's father attended every school performance he could. He taught my son to ride a bicycle. He reads to my daughter. He knows which one dislikes peas and which one pretends to sleep when it is time to clean. Her voice remained calm. You do not become their grandfather because a test told you Adrian and Andrew were not your sons. Victor lowered his head. I understand. No, Naomi said. You are beginning to hear. Victor looked slowly around the table. Something in his expression had changed. Perhaps for the first time, he was not looking at the 4 little girls he had left behind or the photographs Denise had shown him. He was meeting the women they had become. Naomi had questioned him without raising her voice. Lydia had taken apart every vague answer he tried to give. Maya had challenged him without once looking away. Mara had asked questions he had spent decades avoiding. 4 different women, 4 different temperaments. None afraid to speak. None waiting for his approval before doing it. Victor looked at me. You raised them to speak this plainly? I glanced at my daughters. I raised them to know that love should never require them to make themselves smaller. His eyes moved back to them. They are not afraid of me. Maya answered before I could. Why would we be? Victor had no answer. I reached into my handbag. The envelope had been there since the morning after the photograph. The paper had yellowed. The edges had softened. I had carried it to the meeting without knowing whether I would use it. Now I placed it on the table. Victor looked at it. What is that? I opened the envelope. The quarter slid into my palm. For 34 years, I had kept it safe. Not because it was valuable, because it remembered. I placed the coin between us. Victor stared at it. Do you recognize this? He shook his head. Why would I? Naomi looked down at the quarter. Her fingers curled slightly against the edge of the table. I kept my eyes on Victor. This is what your 6-year-old daughter gave me when her school fees were overdue. Victor looked toward Naomi. She had a tin with a few coins and one folded $5 bill. I touched the quarter with one finger. She offered me everything she owned. Victor looked from Naomi back to the coin. I did not know about the coin. You knew the fees were overdue. I knew you were struggling. I sent what I could. I helped when... My chair scraped against the floor before I realized I had stood. Do not use that word with me again. Victor looked up. What word? Help. I had spent most of the meeting sitting because I did not want anger to turn into a performance, but that word reached backward through 34 years. Those were your children. You were not helping me. You were responsible for them. Amara, I know that now. Then hear what your help looked like. My voice had risen. I did not lower it. Naomi was 6. Lydia was 4. Maya and Mara were 4 days old. My body had not healed from giving birth to premature twins. and Maya was feeding poorly enough that the doctor wanted to see her again. Victor looked down. I called your mother because I needed 2 hours. 2 hours, Victor. I asked Dorothy to sit with Naomi and Lydia while I took the babies to the doctor. He looked at me again. She told me she did not want to get involved. Then she told me to give you space because you were under pressure. Victor closed his eyes. I did not know she said that. Of course you did not. You were not there. The words came faster now. I went back to work before I was ready because Rent did not care whether I was ready. Formula did not care. School did not care. I cleaned offices at night. I kept books for a small shop on weekends. I left before the twins woke some mornings and came home after all 4 girls were asleep. Nobody interrupted me. You got to choose when you participated, Victor. I did not. There was never a morning when I could decide I was too tired, too angry, or too overwhelmed to be their mother. I drew a breath and continued. There were nights I told them I had already eaten because there was not enough left for me to eat and still feel certain they had enough. Lydia's hand stopped on the folder. I looked at her. Then back at Victor. One night, your 5-year-old daughter caught me in the kitchen eating the crust from a sandwich she had not finished. Victor lowered his eyes. Do you know what she asked me? He shook his head. She asked, why are you eating my trash? Across the table, Lydia whispered, I remember. I nodded once. The next morning, she pushed part of her breakfast toward me because she knew I had been hungry. She was 5. I placed my finger beside the quarter. And Naomi was 6 when she emptied her little savings tin onto the kitchen table because she thought a child needed to help keep our family standing. Victor wiped his face. I did not stop. So do not sit across from me after 34 years and call the pieces you sent help. I held his eyes. I was not helping to raise your daughters, Victor. I was raising them. My voice rose again, every day, whether I was tired, frightened, angry, sick, grieving, or broke. The room had become completely still. Even Maya had not moved. Only then did I realize how loudly I had been speaking. I did not apologize. I had spent 34 years learning how to survive without Victor. I had not spent them becoming incapable of anger. Victor looked at me for a long moment. You are right. I pointed to the coin between us. This quarter outlasted Bennett and Sons. My finger remained beside it. For a moment, I was not looking at an old coin on a conference room table. I was looking at Naomi's 6-year-old hand pushing her little tin toward me because she thought 25 cents might help keep our family standing. I had to look away from it before I could sit down. There was no victory in the sentence. The quarter was not a trophy. It was a record of what a child had tried to carry because an adult would not. Victor covered his face. Nobody moved to comfort him. When he lowered his hands, he looked older than he had at the door. I cannot change any of it. No, I said. I cannot return the years. You cannot. I cannot undo what I said. That is true. Then what am I supposed to do? The question was not angry. For the first time, it did not sound defensive. It sounded like a man who had reached the end of the explanations he used to protect himself. You tell the truth, I said. I have completely. Victor looked at me. I pointed toward the travel bag. You came because you were sorry. Yes. You came because you were alone. Yes. You came because you had nowhere permanent to stay. His jaw moved. Yes, you came because the boys no longer carried the meaning you placed on them. Tears filled his eyes again. Yes, you came because you saw my grandsons in that photograph. Victor looked toward Mara. Yes, and you hoped the family you abandoned might still have a place for you because you had finally run out of other places to belong. Victor's breathing became uneven. He nodded. I waited. Say it. He looked at me. For several seconds, he seemed to search for a version of the truth that would hurt less. He did not find one. I came because I was alone. Nobody moved. Victor looked down at his hands. I lost the business. I lost the house. Vanessa left. Adrian and Andrew stopped letting me pretend nothing had changed. He swallowed. Then I saw that photograph. I saw you, I saw the girls, I saw the family you built. His eyes lifted to mine. And I realized there was an entire life here that continued without me. So you came back, yes. Because you were sorry? Yes. He hesitated. But if I tell you that was the only reason, I would be lying. Then do not lie. His voice dropped. I came because I was sorry, and I came because I had nowhere left to hide from what I had done. He took a long breath and continued. Ariel forgave me, but she did not want me in her life. He looked at the daughters. I saw the photograph. His voice became quieter. I saw all of you. Then he admitted the part he had been circling around since the meeting began. I saw the boys. Maya looked away. Victor continued. And I thought. He stopped. What? Mara asked. I thought perhaps there was still something of me inside the family. Mara's voice remained calm. There is. Victor looked at her. The damage. His face folded. Mara did not apologize. Victor looked toward the quarter again. I did not understand. Lydia answered. You understood enough to know you were leaving. I mean the rest. You did not remain long enough to learn the rest. Victor nodded. For once, he did not argue. He placed both hands flat against the table. I am not asking you to pretend I was your father. Maya spoke. You were our father. He looked at her. That is why this matters. He closed his eyes. Maya continued. You keep trying to reduce yourself to a stranger because strangers are easier to forgive. Victor opened his eyes. You were not a stranger. Her voice lowered. You were the father who knew our names and still stayed away. The clock moved forward. Victor looked at each daughter. I'm sorry, Naomi. She remained still. I'm sorry I made you carry things that belong to adults. Naomi's eyes filled, but she did not respond. I am sorry, Lydia. Lydia watched him. I'm sorry I taught you that love could disappear when money became difficult. Her fingers closed around the folder. I'm sorry, Maya. Maya's face remained hard. I'm sorry I made anger do the work protection should have done. Something moved across her expression, then it disappeared. Victor turned toward Mara. I'm sorry I left you searching for proof that you existed in my life. Mara looked down. Finally, he looked at me. I'm sorry, Amara. I waited. He continued, I'm sorry I left you 4 days after the twins were born. His voice broke. I'm sorry I called responsibility help. The words reached farther into the past than anything else he had said. I am sorry I left you to answer questions I created. I looked at the quarter. I believe you are sorry. Victor's face changed. Hope appeared. Small, immediate. I continued before he could mistake belief for invitation. But your regret does not create an obligation for us. The hope stopped. You are not coming home with me. He lowered his eyes. You will not receive money from my daughters, I understand. You will not meet the grandchildren. His mouth tightened. I understand. You will not call Denise for information about us. I will not. You will not appear at anyone's home or workplace. I understand. You may leave the letters. Naomi spoke. I do not want mine. Victor looked at her. You do not have to read it. I do not want to carry it. His hand moved toward the envelopes, then stopped. All right. Lydia looked at the stack. You wrote one for each of us? Yes. What is in them? What I should have said years ago. That does not answer the question. Victor looked at her. Apologies, memories, explanations. Excuses? I tried not to. Lydia considered him. I will take mine. Maya looked at her. You do not have to. I know. Victor turned toward Maya. She folded both arms. I do not want yours. He nodded. Mara looked at the remaining envelopes. I will take mine. Victor looked toward me. The 5th envelope bore my name. I placed one hand over it. I will decide later. He nodded. Naomi stood. So this is finished. Victor looked up at her. May I ask one thing? Her expression hardened. You have asked for enough. Please. Naomi waited. Are you happy? She stared at him. Victor looked from one daughter to another. All of you. Maya stood. That question is for you. He frowned. What? You want to know whether we are happy so you can decide how guilty to feel? That is not why. It is. Naomi touched Maya's arm. This time, Maya allowed it. Naomi, answered Victor. We have full lives. He nodded. That is good. Yes. Her voice softened. But do not use our happiness to forgive yourself. Victor looked down, one by one. My daughters stood. Lydia gathered the public records but left one page on the table. It showed the date the company's succession documents had changed. Victor looked at it. For your records, she said. Maya moved toward the door. Victor spoke her name. She stopped but did not turn. I am sorry. Maya looked over her shoulder. I heard you. Can you forgive me? The room became still. Maya looked at him for a long moment. I do not know. Victor nodded. That is fair. She opened the door. No, she said. It is honest. Then she left. Naomi followed. Victor did not ask her for forgiveness. Perhaps he had finally learned that asking could become another burden placed on the person already carrying the harm. Lydia took her envelope and walked out without speaking. Mara remained beside her chair. Victor looked at her. "Thank you for hearing me." She picked up the envelope. "I heard you because I needed the truth. I understand. You keep saying that." He lowered his eyes. Mara continued, "Understanding is what you do after today." Then she left. I remained across from Victor. The quarters still rested between us. He looked toward the door through which his daughters had disappeared. "Will they ever speak to me again? I do not know. Will you? I do not know that either." He nodded slowly. "I meant what I said. I believe you. I'm sorry. I believe that too." His eyes filled again. "Is there any forgiveness left for me?" I looked at the man I had once married, the man who had made me laugh on Saturday mornings, the man who cried when Naomi was born, the man who stood beside two newborn girls and saw what was missing, the man who walked away, the old man who returned because every road he chose had finally ended. "Forgiveness is not a room you enter and begin living in," I said. Victor looked at me. "It is not housing." His face changed. "It is not money." I touched the quarter. "It is not access." He lowered his eyes. "And it is not permission to become a father or grandfather after the children have built those relationships with other people." "I know. You may be forgiven one day." He looked up. "But you may never be restored." The words settled between us. Victor nodded, for the first time. He did not ask whether that was fair. He picked up the envelopes Naomi and Maya had refused. Then he reached for his travel bag. "Where will you go?" "I will find somewhere." That was not an answer. A faint, tired smile touched his mouth. "I see where Lydia gets it." I did not smile back. He looked toward the door. "Denise gave me the number for a housing office." "Call them." "I will. There is also a shelter near the bus station." His face changed. Pride. Even after everything, pride. I waited. Then Victor nodded. "All right, you may tell them you need help." He lifted the bag. I spent my life hating those words. "I know." He looked at me. "I thought needing help made a man smaller." "No," I said. "Refusing responsibility did that." Victor stood beside the door. He looked once more at the quarter. "Keep it," I said. He looked confused. I was not going to take it. "I know." I returned the coin to the envelope. "It was never yours." Victor opened the door before stepping into the hallway. He turned. "Goodbye, Amara." I looked at him. 34 years earlier, he had left through another door carrying a larger suitcase. That day, I had begged him to stay. This time, I did not ask where he was going. I did not tell him to call. I did not promise anything. "Goodbye, Victor." He walked out. I remained in the conference room until his footsteps disappeared. Then I placed Naomi's quarter back inside my handbag. Victor had entered believing the greatest consequence of his choices was losing the family he built afterward. He left understanding something harder. The 4 daughters he abandoned had become women without him. They had heard his apology. They had watched him tell the truth. And not one of them had offered to carry him home. My daughters were waiting near the entrance of the library annex. Maya stood with both arms folded. Lydia held her envelope against the folder she had brought. Mara had placed hers inside her handbag. Naomi carried nothing. The moment I appeared, all 4 women looked behind me. Victor was not there. "He left," I said. Maya released a breath. "Where did he go?" "I do not know. You did not ask." "No." Her expression shifted, not approval, understanding. Naomi stepped closer. "Are you all right?" "Yes, Mom. I'm tired." That was not the question. I looked at my eldest daughter. She had asked me that question many times over the years, after unpaid bills, after Margaret died, after Mrs. Holloway's funeral, after every difficult moment when I had tried to stand upright quickly enough that nobody noticed the effort. "I am all right enough to go home," I said. Naomi nodded. For that day, she accepted it. We left the building together. The cold had sharpened while we were inside. Maya walked ahead toward the parking lot. Lydia followed. Naomi stayed beside me. Mara came last. At the cars, nobody seemed ready to leave. Maya looked toward Lydia's envelope. "Are you going to read it?" "Eventually." "Why?" "Because I chose to take it." "That does not mean you have to open it." "I know." Maya looked toward Mara. "And you?" "Yes." When? I do not know. Naomi opened her car door. Maya turned toward her. You really did not take yours? No. Do you regret it? No. The answer came without hesitation. Maya looked toward the library entrance. I almost took mine. Nobody interrupted. I wanted to know what he wrote about me. Mara asked, why did you leave it? Because he would have become the person who explained me again. Maya slipped both hands into her coat pockets. He has spent years telling people who we were. Angry, difficult, turned against him. Her eyes moved toward the building. I do not need to read his final version. Naomi touched her shoulder. Maya did not move away. Lydia asked, do you forgive him? Maya's expression hardened. Why does everyone keep asking that? I asked once. Once is enough. Lydia waited. Maya looked from one sister to another. I do not know what forgiveness is supposed to feel like. Nobody offered a definition. I do not wake up thinking about him. She looked toward me. I do not want revenge. Then toward the library. I do not want him hungry or sleeping outside. Her voice softened, but I do not want him near me. Naomi nodded. That is enough for today. Enough for whom? For you. Maya studied her. Then she nodded. We drove home separately. By the time I reached my house, the grandchildren had returned from the park. Shoes covered the hallway. A jacket hung from the banister. Someone had spilled juice near the kitchen door and placed a towel over it without wiping anything. The family room was loud, alive. Mara's son ran toward me holding the toy airplane. Grandma. I braced myself as he wrapped both arms around my waist. Did Grandpa Carter fix it? He used too much glue. I warned you. He lifted the airplane. One wing now carried a thick white line where it had been repaired. It flies crooked. Perhaps it needs time to dry, he considered that. Who was the man at the door? The question came without warning. Behind him, the room became quieter. Not completely. Children continued playing, but the adults had heard. Mara approached. I told you he was someone Grandma knew a long time ago. Her son looked at me. Was he your friend? I looked toward my daughters. Naomi did not move. Lydia watched carefully. Maya stood near the kitchen. Mara waited. I crouched so I could look at my grandson directly. He was married to me before your mother was born. The boy frowned. Before Grandpa Allen? Mara smiled slightly. Allen is your father, I know. He looked back at me. Was the man Mommy's dad? Yes. Then is he my grandpa? The room became still. Children ask questions adults spend years trying to avoid. They do not always understand why everyone requires so much time to answer. He is related to you, I said. Like a grandpa? Biologically. He looked more confused. Mara knelt beside him. Being a grandpa means more than being related. Like Grandpa Carter? Yes. And Grandpa Hale? Yes. And Grandpa Reyes? Yes. He counted on his fingers. That is a lot of grandpas. Several adults laughed. The boy looked toward the front door. Will the other one come back? Mara's eyes moved to mine. I answered, he will not come here. Why? Because sometimes adults make choices that change their relationships. What choice? Mara placed one hand on her son's shoulder. That is a story for when you are older. He considered arguing. Then his airplane slipped from his hand. The repaired wing struck the floor. He gasped. The question disappeared. Children sometimes move away from pain more naturally than adults. Not because they do not care. Because life keeps offering them another thing to hold. He picked up the airplane and ran toward Alan. The room slowly returned to itself. Conversations resumed. Someone opened the oven. One of Maya's sons complained that his cousin had changed the television channel. My daughters remained near me. Naomi spoke first. You handled that well. I told him the truth. Part of it. The part his hands were old enough to carry. Naomi looked at me. The words echoed something I had once said about protecting children from truth. This time I had not lied. I had only respected the size of the person asking. The family dinner continued. No one discussed Victor again while the children were present. That was deliberate. I watched my daughters with their families. Naomi's husband, Gabriel, sat on the floor helping two children build a tower from wooden blocks. Every time the tower fell, he reacted as though it were the most surprising event of the evening. Lydia's husband, Nicholas, divided dessert into equal portions because their youngest son had already accused his brothers of receiving larger pieces. Dre stood at the sink washing dishes while Maya dried them. Alan carried his sleeping daughter upstairs and returned with one of her socks stuck to his sleeve. Men fathers, husbands, none perfect. All present. Victor had once said most men wanted sons. That had never been the problem. A man could hope for a son and still treasure a daughter. A father could teach a boy his name without teaching him that his sisters mattered less. The danger began when a parent turned one child into a prize and another into evidence of disappointment. After dinner, Naomi stayed behind. The others gathered children, coats and leftover food. Maya hugged me tightly before leaving. She did not mention Victor. Lydia touched the envelope inside her folder as she walked out. Mara kissed my cheek. I will call tomorrow. You always call tomorrow. I know. When the house became quiet, Naomi joined me in the kitchen. She began collecting cups. You do not have to clean, neither do you. It is my house. That has never stopped us. She filled the sink. I wiped the table. After several minutes, she said, I feel guilty. I stopped. For what? Not taking the letter. You made a decision. I know. That is not a reason for guilt. I watched him place it back with the others. I folded the dish towel once, then again. He looked hurt. Yes, I did not expect to care. Caring does not require you to change your boundary. She turned off the water. What if the letter contained something I needed? Then you may never know. Her face changed. I continued. Every decision closes another possibility. That is not comforting. It is not meant to be. She dried her hands. You are allowed to ask him for the letter later. I do not want him to think that means I want a relationship. Then make that clear. I do not want to contact him. Then do not. Naomi sat at the table. I wish there were one correct answer. So do most people? Did you forgive him? I looked toward the hallway where his voice had entered my home 2 days earlier. I forgave parts of him years ago. What does that mean? I stopped wishing he would suffer. That is not forgiveness. It was the beginning of mine. She considered that. I stopped rehearsing what I would say if he returned. You had plenty to say. Those words belonged to the moment. I sat opposite her. Forgiveness did not happen once. Naomi watched me. I forgave the young man I married differently from the father who left. The same man. Yes, but not the same wound. She nodded slowly. I forgave him for betraying me before I forgave him for hurting you. Did you forgive him for that? Some days. Naomi looked surprised. Some days? Forgiveness is not always permanent simply because you reached it once. I touched the table. A memory can return. A child can ask a question. A photograph can appear. She looked down, and you begin again. Yes, that sounds exhausting. Hatred was more exhausting. Naomi leaned back. Would you ever be his friend? No. The answer made her look up. Would you speak to him again? I do not know. Would you help him if he was sick? That would depend on what help meant. Money? No. Housing? No. Taking him to a doctor? Perhaps. She studied me. How is that different? Compassion can respond to a human need without restoring a relationship. Naomi looked toward the front door. I do not think I could do it. You do not have to. He is my father. That describes the relationship he was responsible for building. She looked back at me. It does not create a lifelong debt for you to pay. 3 days later, Lydia came to my house with the envelope opened. She placed it on the table. You read it. Yes. Do you want to tell me what it said? Parts. I made tea. She did not stop me this time. Victor's letter began with the school fee crisis. He remembered the telephone call, Lydia said. Which one? The night Naomi was removed from class. I sat across from her. What did he write? He said he had money. My hand stopped around the cup. What? He had enough to pay the fees. I looked at her. Then why did he refuse? He had promised Celeste he would pay for something Ariel needed. What? A new crib. Medical appointments, I do not know. Lydia unfolded the letter. He wrote that he told himself he could not support 2 households. A quiet anger entered her voice, as though one was optional. I could not answer. He said he chose the household where he felt appreciated. I closed my eyes. Victor had said something similar years earlier. Celeste made him feel like a man. My daughters had made him feel responsible. At the time, he had mistaken one feeling for love and the other for imprisonment. Lydia continued. He remembered telling Naomi that some things had to wait. Did he apologize? Yes. Do you believe him? Yes. She sounded almost angry about it. What else? What else? Lydia looked at the letter. He wrote that Denise told him I work in finance. She probably did. Then he wrote that it made sense because I had always paid attention to money. I frowned. How would he know that? Lydia gave me a tired look. He did not. I understood. He is taking something he knows about you now and pretending he remembers seeing the beginning of it. Exactly. She folded the letter once. That may be the strangest part of reading this. He keeps writing about us as though he was there long enough to know who we were becoming. I looked at her. He was not. I know. Did the letter help? I asked. No. Did it hurt? Yes. Do you regret reading it? She thought about the question. No. I waited. It confirmed something. What? He knew more than I believed. Her eyes moved toward the paper. I spent years telling myself he did not understand what was happening in our house. He was not there. But he knew enough. Yes. That makes it worse. It does. She looked at me. Everyone says understanding brings closure. Not everyone. It brought detail. Sometimes that is all truth brings. Lydia folded the letter and placed it back in the envelope. I am going to keep it. For your records? A faint smile appeared. For myself. A week passed before Mara opened her letter. She did not read it alone. She asked Alan to sit beside her. Afterward, she called me. I know why he confused us. What do you mean? He wrote about Maya in my letter. I became still. What did he say? He said he read the article about Summit Athletics and was proud of me. I closed my eyes. He still does not know which twin built the company. No. How do you feel? I laughed. Mara. I did. Her voice changed. Then I cried. I waited. He wrote 4 pages. What else was in it? Things Denise must have told him. My work, my marriage, the children. Did he mention your question? Which one? Whether he ever wanted to know you. Yes. What did he say? That the truthful answer was yes. I said nothing. He said wanting was the only part he ever did. Mara's voice softened. He wrote that he thought feeling regret meant there was still something good inside him. What did you think? That regret is comfortable when nobody requires action. I looked toward the family photographs along my hallway. Will you respond? I already did. That surprised me. What did you say? I wrote 1 page. Did you mail it? Yes. What was in it? I told him I forgive him. I sat down. Mara continued before I could speak. I told him forgiveness does not mean he may contact my children. I am glad you made that clear. I told him not to come to my home or workplace. I nodded. That boundary matters. I told him I am not offering regular communication. What did you offer? 1 letter each year. I remained quiet. Mom, I'm listening. He may write on his birthday. His birthday? So I do not spend mine waiting. The choice was so completely Mara that I almost smiled. What if he writes more often? I will not read them. What if you change your mind? Then I will decide again. I leaned back. Are you certain? No. Her honesty touched me. But I do not need certainty to make a boundary. That was what my daughters had finally learned. A boundary did not require anger. It did not require everyone's agreement. It did not even require confidence that the decision would remain unchanged forever. It only required clarity about what was safe now. Maya did not read her letter. She asked Denise to collect it from Victor and destroy it. Denise refused. It belongs to you, she told her. Maya answered, something does not belong to me simply because another person put my name on it. The envelope remained with Victor. Months later, Maya admitted to me that she sometimes imagined what was inside. She did not ask for it. Her curiosity did not become permission. Naomi never requested hers either. She had nightmares for several weeks after the meeting. In one, Victor stood at the door carrying a suitcase. Every time Naomi tried to close the door, she discovered she was 6 years old and too small to reach the handle. She told me about it only once. Does that mean I should have taken the letter? No. What does it mean? That your mind remembers a door your adult hands already know how to close. The dreams eventually stopped. Victor entered a transitional housing program. Denise helped him complete the application. Lydia gave Denise the number, but refused to manage the process. That is the boundary, she explained. Information, not responsibility. Denise changed in quieter ways too. For the first time since I had known her, she stopped treating information as a form of participation. When Victor asked about my daughters, she told him, "Ask them if they want you to know." When my daughters asked about Victor, Denise answered the question they asked and stopped there. She continued visiting Ariel without asking whether Victor approved. The first time Victor became angry about it, Denise finally told him, "You may stop speaking to me if that is your choice. I'm not going to earn your approval by carrying other people's lives back to you." Victor did stop speaking to her. For 3 weeks, this time, Denise did not chase him. When he called again, she answered. But something had changed. She was his sister. She was no longer his messenger. Victor found part-time work maintaining records for a small warehouse. The position paid little. It did not carry his name. Nobody called him the owner. Nobody asked him to speak about legacy. For the first time in decades, he worked inside something that did not belong to him. Adrian and Andrew continued speaking to him occasionally. They did not return to the company because there was no company left. Adrian married. Victor was invited to the ceremony but not asked to stand with the parents. He attended. He sat where he was assigned. He did not make a speech. Andrew later told Mara that Victor cried through most of the ceremony. When Adrian's first child was born, Victor asked whether he could visit. Adrian said yes. The child was a girl. Victor held her. According to Andrew, he did not ask whether Adrian planned to have a son. He did not use the word legacy. Perhaps he had learned something. Perhaps he had merely learned which words revealed too much. People are rarely transformed in one clean movement. They improve, retreat, repeat old habits, recognize them too late. Try again. Victor did not become a different man because 4 daughters confronted him in a library conference room. But he became a man who could no longer pretend he did not understand. That was not redemption. It was the beginning of responsibility. Ariel maintained her distance. She allowed Victor to send birthday cards. She did not invite him to family holidays. When she married, Victor learned about it afterward. He sent a gift without a check, an old photograph of the two of them at her 5th birthday party. On the back, he wrote, "The test changed what I knew about biology. It did not change that this day happened. I'm sorry I behaved as though it did." Ariel kept the photograph. She did not answer. Forgiveness did not make her responsible for comforting him. 2 years after Victor's return, another family dinner filled my house. All 4 daughters came. The grandchildren were louder. One had lost a tooth. Another had learned to read. Maya's eldest son was nearly as tall as she was and reminded her of it every 15 minutes. Mara's son was 9 now, and he still carried the toy airplane, although one wheel was missing and the repaired wing leaned slightly downward. He sat beside me on the porch while the others played in the yard. "Grandma?" "Yes. Do you remember that man?" "What man?" "The one at the door." I looked toward him. He flew the airplane between his knees, older now but still unwilling to retire it. "Yes. Is he alive?" "Yes. Do you see him?" "No. Does Mommy?" "She receives a letter sometimes." He thought about that. "Is he still related to me?" "Yes. Even if we do not see him?" "Yes." He looked across the yard. "Families are complicated." I smiled. Sometimes, Grandpa Carter says family is who keeps coming. That is one way to understand it. He launched the airplane. It traveled only a few feet before landing in the grass. I think the wing is still bad. It has survived many crashes. That does not make it fly straight. I looked at the crooked toy lying in the grass. Children sometimes say the sentence adults need without knowing they have said it. Survival does not mean nothing was damaged. Success does not prove the wound disappeared. Forgiveness does not make the past fly straight. It only means the damage no longer controls where you're willing to go. My grandson ran to retrieve the airplane. Behind me, the front door opened. Mara stepped onto the porch. "Dinner is ready." Her son ran past her. "Wash your hands," she called. "I washed them yesterday." That is not how hands work. He disappeared inside. Mara sat beside me. For a moment, we watched the yard. His letter came, she said. "Victor's?" "Yes." "Did you read it?" "Not yet." "Will you?" "Probably." I nodded. She rested her head against my shoulder. "Do you think he has changed? Some? Enough?" "For what?" She considered the question. "To be forgiven." "That is not determined by how much he changes. To be restored." "No, The answer came easily. Mara nodded. I know. We remained on the porch while voices moved through the house. My house. The one I purchased after years of rent payments, overtime, stretched meals, and small victories. The walls held photographs of my daughters, graduations, weddings, babies, Mrs. Holloway laughing in 2 different earrings, Margaret wearing blue. There was no photograph of Victor, not because I had erased him, because he had not been present when the memories were made. That was the final truth of our family. Victor Bennett was part of our history. He was the father of my daughters. His choices shaped wounds that followed them into adulthood, but history did not create entitlement. Biology did not create access. Regret did not create housing. An apology did not become a key. We forgave in different ways. And Naomi released the need to understand him, but did not invite him into her life. Lydia accepted the truth in writing and refused to become his financial rescuer. Maya protected her peace without promising forgiveness she had not reached. Mara allowed one narrow line of communication and kept every boundary around her children. I stopped carrying hatred, but I did not restore Victor to the place he abandoned. There are people who believe forgiveness must end with reunion, that a healed family sits around one table, that every estranged parent deserves another chance before it is too late. But reconciliation requires more than regret. It requires safety, consistency, truth, and the willingness to accept that the person you hurt may never want the relationship you are finally prepared to offer. Victor's first genuine act of accountability was not returning to my door. It was leaving when we told him he could not stay. He did not receive the family he wanted. He received the consequences he had built, and he finally carried them himself. Later that evening, after everyone went home, I opened the drawer beside my bed. The old envelope remained at the back. I removed the quarter and held it beneath the light. 25 cents once. It represented everything my 6-year-old daughter believed she could contribute to saving our family. For years, I kept it as proof of Victor's absence. That night, I understood it differently. It was proof of Naomi's love. Not the frightened love of a child trying to become useful enough to keep people from leaving. The generous love that had existed inside her before Victor taught her to fear its limits. I placed the quarter back in the envelope. Then I wrote one sentence across the front. She never owed us this. I returned it to the drawer. Not every family receives restoration. Some receive clarity. Some receive distance. Some receive one honest conversation after decades of silence. And sometimes forgiveness is not opening the door again. Sometimes it is closing it without hatred and returning to the people who never made you beg them to stay. My beautiful Cora family, Victor finally apologized. Amara believed he was sorry. Mara chose limited contact. Lydia accepted his letter. Naomi and Maya refused theirs. None of them offered housing, money, automatic access to the grandchildren, or an automatic place in the family. So here is the question I would love to hear your thoughts on. Can you truly forgive someone while deciding they will never again have the position they abandoned? And do you believe Amara and her daughters were right not to give Victor automatic access to the grandchildren, even after he admitted the truth and accepted their boundaries? Tell me what you would have done. Would you have allowed one carefully limited relationship? Would you have closed the door permanently? Or do you believe every daughter had the right to make a different decision? If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who understands that forgiveness and reconciliation are not always the same thing. And if you have not already subscribed, I would be honored to welcome you into our growing Cora Stories family. And before you go, I want to leave you with another story. Amara spent years teaching her daughters that being born a girl should never make them believe they were worth less. But in another Cora Stories family story, one family discovers another painful truth. Sometimes we spend so much time teaching our daughters how to become strong, responsible women that we forget our sons need to be taught how to become responsible men too. That story is waiting for you on your screen now. Tap, we taught our daughters how to build a home, but nobody taught our sons, and continue watching with me. I will meet you there.
It is Cora Stories. Until next time, take care of yourself. Take care of the people who consistently show up for you. And remember, apology may acknowledge the door someone abandoned, but only trust, rebuilt through time and action, can ever earn another key.
Thank you for spending this time with Cora Stories Live. Wherever you listened from tonight, whether near or far, in the morning light, in the quiet afternoon, or deep into the stillness of night, I'm grateful you were here. Your support means more than words can say. Until the next story, rest well, stay strong, and keep believing in second chances. Good night.